Hello and welcome to another episode of Laborvision, brought to you by your friends at KDHX, community television for St. Louis and beyond. I'm your host, John Hickey, and here in Missouri and in the St. Louis area, we've had several auto plants shut down over the last couple years, throwing thousands of people out of work. On today's episode, we'll look at what can state government do to help revive the auto industry here. And to answer that question, we've got three knowledgeable guests. Let me introduce them to you. Ben Harman with UAW Local 136, and you worked at the Chrysler Fenton plant for 10 years or more?
Yes, John, I started with 136, had a stint at 110, and originally came from 1760, and thanks for having me tonight.
Okay. And then John Bowman Sr., you're Chief of Staff for Senator Robin Wright Jones, and also a former worker at the Chrysler plant.
That is correct, John. It's good to be here with you this evening.
Thanks for being with us. And then finally, Jason Archer, also a former worker at the UAW, with the UAW at the Chrysler plant in Fenton, and now with the Missouri Department of Economic Development. Thanks for being with us, Jason.
Yes, thanks for having me today.
And let me start with you, Ben. Tell us about the human cost of what you've seen has happened with the layoffs at Chrysler.
John, I'm glad you directed that question as a human cost, because that's what it is. It's not just about labor numbers and statistics. When Chrysler came to Fenton in 1959, the population was 300. You can see where it's grown today, so that plant had a significant effect, not just on the auto workers, but the community, that surrounded it. And, to suffer a loss of a job is a very devastating experience, especially if that's where you've been employed for 20 plus years. It's hard to start looking for work, but this just isn't what's happened to the auto workers. It's the community itself. It's you've heard of the ripple effect, and it has affected that community and the people that live within it, just not the auto workers.
So it's not just the people who worked at Chrysler, but it's the people who maybe made parts that went to Chrysler, and then the people who sold gasoline to the people who drove to Chrysler to work, and on rippling out.
Yes, and a big, another part of that is the taxes that Chrysler supplied to our tax-supported entities. They will also suffer predominantly in job losses, and I'll use a brief example. The small seating plant in Pacific, Missouri, a rural community, 500 employees, but the loss of that plant will cost their school district $210,000 annually alone. So, we're just not talking auto workers' jobs, now we're talking teachers' jobs.
So then those school kids in Pacific will be paying a price because they'll have less money available for their education.
Absolutely, John.
Jason, I know Governor Nixon wanted to take action on this problem when he came into office. Tell us about this auto task force that the governor set up.
Well, Governor Nixon recognized early on, as a matter of fact, his first executive order was to establish the Automotive Jobs Task Force to look at a way to, as the auto industry was having its correction, as one might say, globally, the governor created the task force to pull industry leaders from around the state to get input on how could we ensure that when we recover, we get those new jobs and those new employment here in Missouri. So we assembled that group in January prior to Chrysler filing for bankruptcy, prior to General Motors filing for bankruptcy. So that whole group met during that industry time then, and then came out with a report on how to work to keep Missouri so that we can come out of this recession with new jobs.
Great. And we'll get a little more into the details of what that auto task force came up with. John, you're the Chief of Staff for Senator Robin Wright Jones. How does the senator look at this, and is there things that the state legislature can do to support the work of the auto task force?
Well, first of all, Senator Robin Wright Jones is very committed, has been in the past, still remains committed to retaining quality jobs such as the Chrysler manufacturing plant, along with the other automobile plants. And she's connected on a different level because her son was actually an employee of the Chrysler plant. So with those type of connections on a community level, and she's also strongly supports and believes that education is one of the key vehicles to producing a qualified, well-trained workforce. And that type of connection allows you to wake up every morning thinking about how important it is to try to retain and attract new businesses, not only to the St. Louis area, but to the state itself. Legislatively, her record will show that in the past she has supported everything from the Quality Jobs Act to trying to help keep the Ford plant open. And we also were very active in supporting the taxes that were afforded to Chrysler to help keep it open, and that $500 million investment which was made, which we thought was going to be an opportunity to lock this company in here for a long-term future. Legislatively, I'm pretty sure on December the 1st, we will see some bills filed that will probably have some connections to the industry. Exactly what, I'm not sure, but I know that out of our office, we are always soundly connected to the need to keep that industry afloat and do everything we can to help it.
Great. So there you have it. Those are, we've got a big challenge in front of us here, and we need to mobilize the resources of our state if we want to revive the auto industry.